the territory held by Serbs within Croatia.
I believe that the Croats are preparing seriously for war. In a sense, they've already started because their army is active in Bosnia fighting the Bosnian Serbs. So one could say that the war, in a sense, has already begun. What we haven't seen is a Croatian strike against the Krajina. My own feeling is that given the troop movements and given the signs that we've seen, I think it's becoming increasingly likely.
Quite simply, the Croats expect and intend to retake Krajina. If necessary, they will do so by military force. If they can't do so by driving out the Serb military from that area, they will do so by a form of accommodation with Milosevic.
An indication of the shifting alliances in former Yugoslavia, as in Bihać, where there's been intense fighting between rebel Muslims allied with Bosnian Serbs and the Bosnian government army who control the enclave. It's too early yet to determine whether the Serbs have been forced to withdraw armaments from their assault on Bihać to defend their territory in the southwest. Since the last major Serb attack on Chechnya, the UN has now confirmed that, contrary to Serb assurances, there were atrocities in the town when it fell.
UN officers have also provided this headquarters with reports of widespread looting and burning of houses by the Bosnian Serb army in the town of Chechnya itself.
The UN has also been told by the Serbs that they executed the Bosnian government commander in Chechnya. In Paris, the leaders of the two biggest contributors to the UN peacekeeping force said there should be renewed effort to revive peace talks.
If we are to ask young men, young British and French soldiers, to do their duty in Bosnia, then we believe it is necessary also to seek to make progress down the political track.
And talks would be one way of forestalling the lifting of the arms embargo on Bosnia, a primary concern.
Here, thousands of health workers have held a protest march and rally in London over pay. They're angry at the NHS offer of 1% nationally and up to 2% more through local bargaining. But the Health Secretary, Stephen Dorrell, insisted the government wouldn't change its mind. Simon Israel reports on today's protest and how 4 out of 5 health authorities have already offered 3% or more.
Around 4,000 health workers from all over the country joined the march through central London, the relaxed atmosphere belying their intense opposition to the government's decision to end national pay bargaining, so that someone with the same job in different parts of the country could be paid a different rate.
We're talking about everybody being equal and keeping a national health service and not ending up somebody in London and somebody they're in different parts of the country, different jobs, different pay. We're here as a national health service and we're all here for our future.
The demonstration, organised by 12 health unions representing almost 1 million NHS staff, has been staged just a few days before the largest union begins balloting its members on industrial action.
We must go back and campaign hard for a massive yes vote in the industrial action ballots that are coming up.
The Health Secretary appeared conciliatory today, saying NHS staff must be valued but remain steadfast on pay.
I don't think that we should compromise the proposition that where in the health service there are particular circumstances that need to be met by agreement between the local managers and the local staff, there should be sufficient flexibility to allow that to happen. Circumstances in rural Northumberland are not the same as circumstances in central London, and the pay system must reflect that.
Only a handful of the 500 NHS trusts have yet to make an offer. Of those which have done so, a tiny fraction, between 10 and 20, are ready to pay more than 3%. The vast majority, more than 400, are sticking to the government's guideline of 3%, and between 50 and 60 have offered less. Hospital and health managers are known to be considering plans to undermine any threatened industrial action by simply imposing the pay award.
Well, I think many trusts are going to make one more effort to have negotiations at local level. If that doesn't come off, then many will, I think, start to make direct payments to individual members of staff in accordance with the kind of offers that have been made already.
But that strategy risks jeopardising whatever harmony remains at local level. Not one trust has so far reached any agreement, and the unions believe any attempt to force a deal may provoke local disputes before their ballot result is known in September.
We can now go back to the release of the 12 IRA prisoners from jail in the Republic of Ireland. This report from Chris Roberts in Belfast.
They were jailed for crimes ranging from weapons possession to armed robbery. One was a police officer who acted as a spy for the IRA. But today, these 12 Republican prisoners walked free from Portlaoise jail. Most had 2 more years behind bars to serve. They were grateful for their freedom, but wanted more.
This is the time now for the release of all political prisoners in England, in the 6 counties, and indeed in America. And just as in the immediate future, we feel that the repatriation of all Irish political prisoners should be enacted right now.
The Irish government has now released 33 Republican prisoners since the IRA leadership declared a ceasefire 11 months ago.
A number of the prisoners were quite significant in the background to the peace process, to the ceasefire, and the government is recognising their role by these releases.
Unionists north of the border, however, believe today's move is giving in to the gunmen.
There's a sense of outrage that the Dublin government should simply open the gates to allow their IRA friends to go free, and it's very clear that this is just a further instalment and that there will be many more.
There are still more than 1,000 Republican and Loyalist prisoners in jails across Northern Ireland. Both they and politicians in Dublin are now hoping the British government follows Ireland's lead and speeds up the release process. Chris Roberts, ITN, Belfast.
Peace talks have resumed in the Chechen capital Grozny. Both Russia and Chechen separatists insist they want a political settlement to the 7-month war. The talks stalled 3 days ago over Chechnya's bid for independent status within the Russian Federation. Now the two sides have shelved that problem to discuss military issues, including a Russian withdrawal and the disarmament of Chechen troops. Sally Ann Croft and Susan Hagen, 2 former members of a religious cult in America, have said they'll appeal after being found guilty of conspiracy to kill a federal prosecutor. The 2 British women face life sentences for their part in plotting to murder attorney Charles Turner, who was investigating fraud at the cult's compound in Oregon in 1985. They'll be sentenced in October. Hundreds of demonstrators have been protesting near Newbury in Berkshire against plans to build a bypass through 5 wildlife and heritage sites. They claim the bypass would only add to the already serious traffic congestion in the town. Supporters of the scheme say its impact on historic sites and the environment will be minimal. Cricket and England rammed home their advantage in the 4th Test at Old Trafford today. The West Indies go into the 4th day still 62 runs behind with 7 wickets in hand. England's Dominic Cork had a stroke of luck when pushing off for 4 runs. His foot touched the stumps and a bail fell off, but it wasn't spotted by the West Indies. And with no appeal, the umpire couldn't give him out. The West Indies' hopes of saving the Test rest with Brian Lara, who's still there on 59 not out. And now look at the weather. Tonight, isolated showers may continue overnight in western Scotland, but the rest of the country will be dry and hot. Tomorrow, cloud in Scotland and Northern Ireland will clear, bringing some sunny spells later. England and Wales will have another hot day, but isolated heavy showers are likely later in the afternoon. And the outlook for the next few days, Scotland and Northern Ireland will be cloudy with some rain or drizzle. England and Wales will remain hot and sunny with a risk of thunderstorms. And that's Channel 4 News for tonight. We're back on Monday at 7 o'clock. Do try to join us then. But for now, goodbye.
If we said that last year over 2,000 prisoners were executed in 37 countries, would you care? If you learned that since 1973, 50 prisoners in the USA have been released from death row after proving their innocence, would you be moved? And if you found that it's not just murder that carries the death penalty, that you could be executed for embezzlement and bribery, would you be surprised? If we challenged you to find out more, would you accept?
The competition that's causing concern for the pavement artists of Paris, and Italy welcomes a new art school. Europe Express puts us in the picture next on 4.
I'd like to show you what makes this special edition Shitroen ZX so special. Program rear wheel steering. Now this system allows the rear wheels to steer slightly in the same direction as the front wheels.
So when a lateral force is applied, the subframe here can pivot around one mounting. So there you have it, the reason the ZX takes bend so well.
Oh yeah, did I show you the hydraulic dampers with asymmetric settings?
The Shitroen ZX Elation, now at the special price of £9,995.
There's never been a card quite like the Shell Smart Card. It lets you pick up gifts from Shell stations and save for bigger items from our catalogue, like tapes and CDs. You can also donate money to charities, you can get UCI cinema tickets, or even collect air miles. Get smart. To get the card, phone free on 0800 006 008.
Ian Wright's jetting to new heights in this week's Lonely Planet.
Over there, mainland Africa, Tanzania, and that is the small island of Zanzibar. I don't know much about it, but I'm just in love with the sound, Zanzibar. Get out of it.
And head for the Lonely Planet, Wednesday at 8:30 on 4.
The past bred fear and ignorance.
I happen to subscribe to the belief that it is a tragic illness.
In 1969, the hiding stopped.
Stonewall was the birth of the radical movement.
From the flames of defiance to euphoria. And bigotry from within.
When I went to GAA, I was not in full drag.
The drag queen is something we've been stuck with, frankly.
The growing pains of modern gay America. Over the Rainbow starts Wednesday at 9 on 4.
Art, athletics and asylum seekers. That's the lineup now on 4 in Europe Express.
We Germans once had a reputation for welcoming refugees. Not anymore. They're thrown out of the country. It's only the churches who help them.
It was always a funny way of selling clothes. Shocking advertisements about childbirth, war and AIDS. But Benetton has had commercial problems, and now its whole image is in question.
She was a little girl destined to become a big gymnastic star. Now she's dead, the victim of a brutal Romanian coach and brutal Romanian training methods.
Sunday morning bells summon a family to church. They don't have to walk very far. This family is living in the priest's own house. This is the Church of the Good Shepherd in Augsburg, Bavaria. 3 months ago, it gave sanctuary to the Akuc family, Syrian Christians from eastern Turkey.